We love Classical Conversations.
Your organization is known worldwide, and we certainly appreciate every facet that you do.
I do believe in what you're doing because I've seen it in my family.
I'm so excited about all the things that, Robert, you guys do with Classical Conversations. It's been a huge blessing for our family.
Grateful for the work at Classical Conversations. You're a leader, and you have been in this movement for a long time.
I do feel like I have a debt of gratitude to you, your family, all of CC for just the fruit that has come from CC.
Appreciate all that you guys do, both through this wonderful podcast and also through Classical Conversations, which I am convinced is the best education resource out there. Thank you very much for all that you do for the cause of Christ and for our families and for our children. Really, really appreciate it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Refining Rhetoric. And today we're going to talk about AI. And I don't necessarily have a guest today, but I know it's a big question on a lot of people's minds. You know, what is AI? How's it going to be used? Is it going to be disruptful to, my job or my husband's job or my wife's job or my kids? Are they going to be able to get internships? With every single technological revolution, there's been, winners and losers. And where do we stand? Like, what's going on in AI? And so I just wanted to talk to you today a little bit about that. None of this is necessarily, Classical Conversations, seal of approval. We're still talking through this as a leadership team and what it means for us here. And we're working on some guidelines and things like that for our community and education. So definitely want to talk about some of the things that we're seeing there today or seeing there. And so, let's just jump in. So AI, artificial intelligence, it's, been around for quite some time, but it's never really gone mainstream. So if you have a cell phone, you've probably been using AI tools for a decade. So it's not necessarily something that everyone should be afraid of, at least some of its uses. But recently, with the speed of processing and the energy required to use AI, that's really what's driven kind of this recent adoption. And I'm sure most people, Chat GPT is probably becoming the quote unquote Coke of the industry, where everyone, doesn't matter what AI you're actually using, people just kind of think of Chat GPT first, but that's just one of many different AI tools. And so there's all sorts of different types of AIs, ones for like narrow AIs or that are trained basically on very specific information to provide very specific type of results to, very broad ones. And many of you are probably seeing, some of the statistics where it shows the usage of Chat GPT and these others kind of spike during the school year and then fall off during the summer, which has been interesting. And so I want to definitely cover that today. But why is AI kind of so important? And so one of the things I think we need to understand is the current administration, the Trump administration, has been crystal clear on what their goals are and what their plans are. You can disagree with the plans or goals, but they very much have been saying, this is what we're going to do. This is how we want to accomplish it. And this is what we think is going to happen. And so very clearly, maybe it's because of Elon Musk's time in DC. Well, what they're trying to do is grow their way or help us grow our way out of the $37 trillion in debt that this country has. And so part of that idea is, can we increase workers' productivity? Can we build things for less money? Can we make the government more efficient? And so they're turning to artificial intelligence to do so. And so whether you like it or not, I think AI is here to stay and going to be a big part of at least the next 3 years of our lives and probably longer based on what the Trump administration is trying to do with it. One of the things I think people are rightly concerned about is, the amount of data has collected, the amount of data that's being collected. It's could get to the point where, it could predict crimes or who can commit crimes. And, do you arrest someone before they do that? Or, is it profiling? If you use AI tools in a city, you find out that most incidences happen between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. on 3rd Street. Well, now you send police officers at that time to patrol that area of town to try to reduce crime in that area. Maybe there's a certain demographic that lives there. Is that profiling or not? And those type of things. One of the other things from a AI tool perspective is a lot of these tools have been trained on information that they may or may not have had all the copyright, being able to do that, the intellectual property that it's been trained on books and things of that nature that they they probably shouldn't have used it. Like they didn't have the right to train their AI on it. Now, my prediction for this, there's going to be lawsuits. We are in an AI race against China. Like this is, again, whether you agree with it or not, this is a national security concern that if we lose the AI race, that the United States will lose its standing in the world, that this could be a death punch to the republic. And so I think what you need to know, or at least what I believe, is that we cannot lose the AI race to China, or that's what the administration believes. That's what American leaders believe. And so my personal opinion is there'll probably be a lawsuit. There'll probably be some sort of, $500 million fine to these institutions. And if they use your IP, you can, apply for it. Then you can get a check for $20 and that'll be the end of it. They cannot untrain these AIs without the IP in them. It's obviously very expensive and would put us behind China in the AI race. So that's a prediction that I have there. As far as using it for like the personal information and data mining, absolutely. These entities, whether government or business, have been collecting this data. I mean, some of it is, can be atomized, so they don't know if it's, your data or who it is, and those type of things can be, basically kind of painted with a broad brush. So they don't necessarily know what Robert Bortins is doing with AI, but they could probably say, okay, white male who lives in Southern Pines, who's in his early 40s, how are they using it, right? And so that my data is being collected, in those types of databases. And so, again, like obviously, being able to protect our identity and have, those types of protections is super important to freedom and to liberty. So I think that's, as they look at AI legislation, they're definitely going to have to figure out what that is and what that looks like. I can tell you, as someone who can see behind the scenes and CRMs and different things, it's kind of amazing what people can know about you just through looking at your internet searches, and not your specific ones, but ones in your areas and in your neighborhoods and your IP address and all sorts of stuff. So there's definitely a danger with data mining with AI. We know that, as far as, healthcare, again, all these tools are going to have good things and bad things that are going to be tied to them. And having people of influence with the biblical worldview is going to be vitally important to it. I know that, as, doctors are using AI because they can, use it to spot things, and they can use AI to give you great ideas on like, conversations or things that you could try to with your elements or whatever, make it better. But just like WebMD, basically everything you Google or you search there will eventually kill you. AI can, kind of provide that same thing. So the big thing with AI in general is there always has to be a wise, intelligent, knowledgeable human in the loop. And just like autonomous driving cars, like someone has to be responsible. And so for AI, it's always whoever's using it is going to be responsible for the outcomes. And so when you hear about lawyers or judges that quote cases that never existed or things like that, that can show that they're not using the AI tools properly. They're blindly trusting it. And these are, well-educated people. And so AI is going to be, it's going to be very interesting on how it gets rolled out to public education. They know, or that the plan is, because I've heard it from Khan Academy, a presentation they did, is basically because not every child has a parent that's going to homeschool them, that now you can have AI basically be that parent, be that one-on-one educator. Obviously, it's not going to love your child, but they can train it so that if your, kid is always missing a comma, right, that suddenly a bunch of word problems come where they can practice putting the comma in the right place. If they're always kind of making a similar mistake on a math problem, they can give them a math prompt that will, correct the child and give them that individualized education. But of course, the AI is going to be collecting all sorts of data on your children too, as they're growing and having a digital trail that follows them. And so there's a lot of ethical concerns that families should be having around AI use in school. One of the things that's interesting, I was just reading about these 2-hour AI schools, and basically it's kind of funny because most homeschoolers, again, obviously you got reading and things like that, but most homeschoolers are spending 2 to 3 hours a day in sort of like, head down academic activity. And the research is basically coming out that, with AI, you can do the same thing. So it's just kind of proven the point that school is mostly just babysitting and a waste of time, that education doesn't take a whole lot of time when you get that individualized education. So it's kind of, in one way, great that it's proving out what homeschoolers have been saying for decades is true. But on the other hand, it can be very scary to think that your child is basically going to form a relationship with this kind of AI bot. And with a child's developing brain, with just there's a lot of issues there. Obviously, with screen time, we know how bad screen time is. This is just going to promote more screen time. And as I was alluding to earlier, AI is only as useful as the person who's sitting down, who is using it. And so for education, AI can definitely help parents out. If little Johnny's not doing so well at a subject, you can say, hey, little Johnny's not understanding this. Can you give me a way to explain this to him, or give me 5 practice problems that resemble this problem that he keeps getting wrong? And so there's definitely things that can help from that standpoint. But for children to really use AI like on a daily basis in education, that can definitely cause some harms. And so we think about like calculators. Well, we say that, we kind of laugh or, cry at the fact that most people can't make change anymore. Like if you go to a restaurant, right, and you actually have cash and you hand them a $20 bill and it's, 1989, they don't know to give you 11 cents, right? And so because we abandoned the calculator way too young and said that people can just punch in the numbers and they'll be able to get it correct, that we lost that skill kind of as a society. And so AI has the potential to do a lot of harm as well. And part of that harm is in that it does work really well, and every 3 months or so it starts working a lot better, and it's really easy to just believe it. I find myself, I use AI almost on a daily basis, if not just to try things out, to do my own kind of self-discovery of it, but also for helping at work and different tasks and things like that. It's really easy, even for me who should know better, to just believe it sometimes. And then sometimes I come back and it's like, I really, I didn't double check that. You go double check it, and it's close to right, but it's not 100% there. So that's going to be kind of scary when instead of asking your parents or an adult or someone who's worked in the industry for 20 years your question, that you're just going to this faceless humanoid like AI to get your answers. And we know the Bible says a student is going to be like his master. And so we do not want our students to be like boxes with a bunch of electronics in it. We want them to grow up to be more human. And so kind of as AI continues to evolve, we need to figure out, as educators, as homeschoolers, as Christians, how can we use AI to make ourselves more human, spend more quality time with our family. There was a lot of promises of what the internet was going to bring in computing. And yes, it's done a lot of wonderful things for our society and for the world, but we also see a lot of negative aspects, and we've got to consider, what is that going to look like when it's 100 times that intense with AI. And so for education, I would just encourage, again, this isn't Classical Conversations policy. We obviously don't dictate what you're doing at home, but students need to be able to struggle. They need to be able to do the hard work so that they can get that knowledge, get that wisdom inside of themselves so that they can then use AI wisely. Some of the early research out of like Microsoft is showing that if you're an expert at something, AI can make you 3 or 4 times more effective at it. If you're good at that, the expert, you're not an expert, but you're good at something, it can make you maybe 30% to 50% more effective at it. But if you're a novice, you're really going to actually decrease your expertise because you're just blindly trusting what the AI is giving you, and it actually can produce worse results than if you weren't to use AI at all. And so, for at home, I think, it's definitely for parents, using it and thinking about using it. You could put your own, create your own grade. A lot of people are saying, it's hard to grade these history papers, for a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader. Well, that's right there, something that you could create as a parent. Create a rubric, upload your child's paper into it and ask it to say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, using these classical tools, what are some of the things you see that this student did well on, and what didn't they do well? What are some things that could be corrected? And it could help you as a parent provide better feedback to your student. But what we don't want is obviously a student saying, write me a 500-word essay about XYZ, and then turning that in, right? So that's not a great, would not be a way for a student to wrestle with something.
The Classical Learning Cohort is comprised of small groups of CC parents learning how to become more confident, competent classical teachers. We provide a welcoming place of mentorship while practicing classical skills and hospitable assessment. With feedback from peers and mentors, you will experience transformational growth as a classical Christian educator. Why not sample the CLC by attending a free online event with a CLC member? Go to classicalconversations.com/cohort and search Experience a CLC event to find a time that fits your schedule.
I mean, Simon Sinek was talking about AI, and I was watching him, and he was saying, like when he was writing his books, Why, he's like, even if nobody had read it, that, that it changed him, that going through, doing the research, doing the studying, like it's the journey, right? Life is the journey. Why do you climb a mountain top? Obviously you want to see the scenes, but part of it is the journey of, hiking up, doing the hard work, having your snacks, doing the water thing. So that life is a journey, and AI isn't about a journey; it's about an end result. And so, what does that do to our humanity? And so, yeah, we should, especially here at Classical Conversations, we're going to be working at giving you some ideas on how to rightly use it in education, when you shouldn't use it, those type of things. But ultimately, it's going to come down to your wisdom and learning how to use AI tools. I think classical educated students are going to have a step above their peers, because it's about prompting, it's about thinking well, it's about understanding your subject. And so all of those skills that have been cultivated over 12 years of a classical K through 12 education is going to put them in a stronger place than their peers. And so one of the things that I've said throughout my life is really, and I know 18 is just an arbitrary age, but it is kind of the one that we use here in the United States. You can work really hard your first 18 years of your life, and you're going to have a much smoother, easier path the next 70. Or you can, mess around and not do the hard work the first 18 years of your life, and you're going to have a much harder life until you go to heaven. Now, again, plenty of examples where that's wrong, and of course, there's people who turn their lives around. But I'm just saying, painting with a broad brush. Before our children are 18, we should want them to struggle. We should want them to learn. We should want them to wrestle. And anytime that AI is circumventing that process, we're making their last 70 years of their life, much more difficult. And so just to be considerate of that. So, if you're learning to write an outline for a paper, you should probably do that by hand. But maybe as you write that outline for a paper and it's the 10th time you've done it, or maybe you're getting ready to turn it in for a final, maybe then is when you say, okay, now upload it into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, please tell me any logical inconsistencies that are in this paper, right? And so learning how to prompt it well, and not just write a proper prompt, but when to prompt it well, like what steps in the process is going to take a lot of wisdom. And we don't necessarily have a lot of that, because wisdom's usually derived from doing things poorly a few times first. And we're all just trying to figure this out together. I know that everyone's kind of, if you haven't seen it, I believe it was out of MIT. There was a study that looked at the development of the brain and using AI and not using AI. And that's definitely shown kind of, again, what I've experienced and what we can see in real life. And it shouldn't be surprising to us, because technology's, done this throughout history. It's definitely, I don't want to say making us dumber, but students who are using AI don't recall information as well. They can, if they use it to write a paper and it's, a big part of that process, they don't even remember what they wrote just a few minutes after turning it in. I kind of joke around, but it's probably already happened. You're going to have a paper that's written by AI, that is then graded by AI, and a student's going to get a grade from it from a teacher, and no human will have ever actually read the paper. And so, again, you can see how that's just going to be very disruptive to the educational process. And so, banning AI again is not, not likely to occur anywhere. So we have to learn how to use it wisely, and then have the discipline to use it wisely. One of the things that I don't see people talking about, at least in public, is just the energy usage, I mean, it is out there. It uses so much energy, and some of these grand ideas for AI, it's going to take a lot more energy than we have right now. So what does that mean? I mean, like, let's say, and I don't know the number, but say we need 50 more nuclear power plants today. Like, even if, the red tape is cut, everything's approved, they decide to do it and spend the money today, it's still going to be, 5-10 years before many of those are online. If you're not aware, and I'm not sure the mechanical aspects of it or logistics of this, but Elon Musk actually bought an energy plant from overseas and brought it into the United States, I believe, to put it by his server farm for his Grok AI. And so there's not enough energy, there's not enough chips. So some of these kind of grandiose ideas that are out there, there's simply not the infrastructure in place. I don't know. I mean, it's probably trillions and trillions of dollars that have to be spent to get the infrastructure there. And so some of this is very hype focused so that they can raise the funds and get the legislation passed and things like that. Some of these things are much farther away than we think they are. But right now, AI is improving dramatically every 3 to 6 months. And so even just recording this 3 weeks from now or whenever this comes out, things will have changed. Different programs will be better than the other one. So people ask, like, how am I using it? And one of the things, just let people know, like, one, especially as an adult, like, it's something that you need to learn how to use and to think about. And so the best way for that is to just use it. Now, remember, the saying is, if it's free, right, then you're the subject. You're being what's bought and sold. So definitely, as you're looking at, if you use the free version of anything, expect that they're looking at your data and they're selling it or using it to make their product better. So I would definitely encourage you to look at, if you can, if you are using a free version, make sure you're not putting in anything that you wouldn't want them to have access to. You're probably not going to want to put in your bank statements or something like that to them, or your social security number or things like that. But if you're using one that you're paid for, again, you got to read the fine print. But you have at least a much higher chance that they're going to be respecting your data when you're paying for it. And so definitely doing that. I mean, I'm definitely using it as a first step of an editor. So I can write a article or something, and instead of sending it to my editor, I say, correct this paper for grammatical errors. I've used it very successfully. Someone wrote an article that was painted myself in a bad light, and so I uploaded their article into AI, and I said, "Dear AI, give me the logical fallacies in this article." There was 21 of them, so I just pointed that out on Twitter. I said, "Hey, this article said all these things about me, and there's 21 logical fallacies that this author had in this 600-word essay." So it's very difficult to do, and apparently it got back to him, and he hung his head in shame as well. He should. So definitely testing it out. I downloaded an app that lets you that creates your own songs. So I've been creating songs to the delight, or of my wife and friends. So that's been fun to do, to just try that out, and really cool to see. So it's very much in the early stages, and I'd encourage everyone to just remember, if you're not paying for the tool, you are the service, and don't put anything personal in it. But to begin to think about, instead of doing a Google search, just do it, do a search in one of these platforms, and just, try to spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day playing with an AI tool. A lot of people are using it for recipes now, or, meal planning. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it that are not really dangerous. But that's a good place to start. And so for all of you, I'm not trying to downplay the potential dangers of AI. There are a lot of dangers with it. I think my wider point and purpose is if they can solve the energy issue, it's very clear that AI is going to be here to stay. Hopefully there will be some guardrails around it. Hopefully some of the lessons learned from the internet will be applied to legislation and how we use it in our own homes, even if they don't have legislation dictating those things. And that it's really important that we wrestle, that we go on these journeys, and that we don't take that away from our children. Computers were not hard for kids to pick up. When I was growing up, they really didn't need to have all these computer classes. Your child will definitely pick up AI very quickly as a young adult. But if they do not have the wisdom, they have not struggled through the process, then they will not be set up well for success in whatever this new AI world is. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode on AI. I know there's so many different thoughts on it. I do not have all the answers. I have many questions, but I'm trying to get those answered. So I just hope that you go on a journey, try to figure out how to use AI well for yourself, for your businesses, for your life. And just be careful out there and know that it's coming. And so it is really important that we educate ourselves on AI, because that is very clearly the direction technology companies and our government are going in the near future. They're telling us what they're going to do. We should believe them, and we should be prepared. So until next time, God bless, and share this episode with a friend. And we'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortins. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.